Welcome to Drawing a Crowd. I'm so excited today about our guests. But listen, before we get started with our guests, I want you to go ahead and like on this page. Go ahead and share it. And the other thing is make sure you subscribe. Now, check this out. The guest we have today, he has distinguished himself in such a way, and he stands out of the crowd that I just had to draw this man. It won't be my first time drawing him, but we're going to have a great conversation. And I'm looking forward to it. But check this out, who the man is. Listen, he has guided multi-million-dollar sports and entertainment projects. He's managed over 250 successful promotions to help bolster brands like Nike, Jordan, Pepsi, HBO, and Sony, just to name a few. He's rubbed elbows with the likes of Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Vince Carter, and Allen Iverson, again, just to name a few. He is a leader in the marketing world. He's now a leader in the beauty industry. Please welcome with me, author of the book of DH, Dreams and Hopes, Damon Haley. All right. In addition to having Damon with me,
In addition to,
I got a co-host because we got to make sure we do this thing right. Independent filmmaker, independent recording artist, my friend and brother, Mr. Jahmal Holland.
hey, Jahmal with an
Hey, that's right.
H. Right.
It's meaningful.
Damon, congrats on the book. And not only congrats, I want to say thank you because I read it. I'm not a person that goes through a book in a day, but I got on a plane and I read it. And check this out. I lost the book. I left the book on the plane, brother. Like you signed my book and I left it on the plane.
That's all right. You get a two for one. Just give me a mailing address. You get a 2 for 1.
But let me tell you this. When I got to Georgia, I ordered the book again. So as a matter of fact, I have now bought 3 DH books because my sister wanted to read it. So I ordered the book again, and I could not put the book down. So I'm really excited about it. So check this out. You know how it goes. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to draw you. And in the meantime, we're going to go through some questions and that kind of thing. And hopefully by the time I'm finished, you don't, punch me in the mouth, and that's a reference from the book there. So we're going to get going. My first question to you, Damon, is why the book of DH and why now?
We're in an age of storytelling, in terms of all types of storytelling, from different forms of content, from audio to combining audio and visual to pictorial, along with the old school way of words. And the actual book idea was really a book concept I had inspired by Kobe Bryant. It was something that Kobe said to me one day, and I really kind of went with it. And then one day I'm in my store, and a gentleman comes in, Kevin Super, comes in and says the inspirational statement like Kobe said it and like he would say it. And I said, "What did you say?" Just one of those, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, I was just joking." I said, "No." And I told him about my book idea. Kevin went to his trunk and gave me his book called Kingdom Business. And he said, "Man, you seem like the type that once you say you'll do it, you'll do it." And he gave me his writing partner's name. And when I met the writing partner, Luis Lopez, I didn't quite think he was ready for that book, but he said, "Man, you should do a biographical book. I Googled you and just talking to you and all that kind of stuff." And that's when I really thought about it. I mean, when a young person said, "Hey, you got a story, you should tell it." And I said, "Will you help me?" And he took a couple of interviews and turned it into a first draft. And that's what really got me going. I probably would have never did that. I would not have thought enough to really sit down and do it unless I got a lot of help along the way. And then another woman who I work with, Amani DeBose, I just caught her on a Friday. I said, "What you doing this weekend?" She said, "Nothing." I said, "Would you take a look at this and see if it makes sense to you?" And so she did the second draft, and then I took the third draft and really worked it up. But I really start getting into it when I talk to my editor about tips at the end of each chapter. And that's when I said, it's just not a story if it's just about me. People might not get that. But if I can kind of tell it away, and I say I would do it differently, or this is where I made mistakes, or this is where I got tricked, or this is where it was wrong, and then kind of share with people at the end, this is how you might handle this or get out of this. This is what you should get out of this chapter. So that's what I thought of. Can I help a young Damon? Can I help a young PeQue? Can I help a young Jahmal do life better? Particularly if you're trying to do what I did, which is go through a PWI, predominantly white Institute of Education. I'm a Cal graduate and a University of Michigan MBA graduate. If you're trying to go through corporate America, which I worked with Chevron Corporation and Nike Inc. And then if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, these are the things that you probably can do better and be more successful. So that's where it all came from.
Okay, so I was going to ask, how was it sounded like the way you were explaining that you had a book idea in mind and then it pivoted when you got further development of the idea with your collaborators. How was the vision different from, like, what did you envision when you first started creating a book, and how did that change?
I really thought it was about me, Jahmal, really. And when I started collaborating with young people, because my target was always young people, sweet spot in your 20s, you're trying to figure out the back half of maybe your education piece. You're trying to figure out what you want to do with life. And then you're new into a new environment of work. And then you're trying to be a high performer. So it wasn't necessarily for a retired person or somebody in their career, if you will, can help. But that was the sweet spot. So it really became about the lens of thinking, how am I writing this to help someone? How do I emote in a way that they get what I'm feeling when I'm going through it? And even how do I manage my emotions through that phase? So it really became all about 20-year-olds because those were my collaborating partners. It wasn't until the very end when my editor's mother, who we were born on the same day, looked at it and said, wow, I can sympathize with some of this, but why don't you do this or why don't you do that? So then it became more of, and she was a mother, it became more of a counseling session. So that's how it changed. It started about me just telling a story to how do I help people, through my experience. How do I help them through my experience?
Awesome.
That's good.
That's amazing.
I have a something that was really inspiration to me. Something that always hits me is how a person is inspired to do whatever it is that they do. And this is kind of off the way a little bit. But when I looked at your reading list, now I'm going all the way through the book and I get to the reading list. And that just blew me away. You go from John Maxwell, who is a pastor and corporate leader of leaders, Ralph Ellison, who is, civil rights great of, Invisible Man. And then we see Iceberg Slim in there, in the same vein, Iceberg Slim, the pimp and author, talk to us a little bit about, the different influences that you have. That reading list is amazing to me, by the way.
Well, I've always been a reader. My dad, rest his soul, R.I.P. He retired from L.A. County over all of LA County libraries, maintenance of LA County libraries, not only everything structural about it, the operational structure of it. And so I've always had books around me. And my dad, I was telling my nephew the other day, if I was interested in something, I had a book within the next 3 days, and he was like, do your thing, kind of thing. We had a dictionary in our house that probably was 10 inches to 10, 12 inches. And if I ever asked him anything, he would point to it, you know. So I was always one that found answers in books. I was always one who read and had an appreciation for it. So I went to all black high school, and I was in AP English, and we read black authors, and that was the first thing that Ralph Ellison, Invisible Man, whew, that was a powerful book for me. Autobiography of Malcolm X. That's the kind of stuff I read in AP English, and I learned how to read, process, analyze, and communicate through verbally, you know, in class, and also written. And I really got into it. But it just gave me the opportunity at a young age to learn muscles of thought, muscles of thinking. And I just used them throughout. I never grew up with a TV. I didn't get a TV until my senior year of high school, where we replaced the old living room one with a new one. And then I got that one, you know. It's funny, my 10-year-old grandson in my office now where I am, he says, "How come it's not a TV in here?" I'm like, because I got more books in here. I told him, I said, "Why would I have a TV when I got all these books?" So, and I just have an appreciation from everything, you know, and I could take lessons from different forms of content, you know. So that's kind of how I saw it. And actually, my brother had the Pimp book around the house, and that's how I read Pimp. My brother was 6 years older than me, and I read it just because it was there and it was interesting. So yeah, man, anybody that has something interesting, I take it, I read it, and incorporate it. How can I not? Once it's in my conscious or subconscious thought, I utilize it.
That's good. That's good. Speaking of you growing up, your brother, there's a section in the book where you talk about navigating streets of South Central Los Angeles and dealing with, you know, 8 Tray and dealing with the gang, you know, war zone, should I say, and how you converted the skills that it took to deal with that, to be able to deal with the corporate space and navigating that and the you know, the super competitive situations that you might have gotten into that. Can you talk to us a little bit about how those the parallels that you see in those?
Yeah, I think it's very little difference. You know, people are people, humans are humans, right? So I think that, you know, the games, by the time I got there, you know, because my older brother admittedly says it's a lot different than when he was growing up. You know, it became more evolved. You know, you had crack, which was a multi-billion-dollar business, you know, for the FBI and for many, I call them freelance pharmacists that we would have in our communities, right? So I saw it's really no different. So there's group, you know, mentality about how groups operate. Same thing as the culture that you'll see in corporate America. There's a leadership pecking order, written and unwritten, same kind of stuff there. And then there's the idea of power, fear, and bullying that you still see in corporate America. So me figuring out that, you know, you got to stand tall, good, bad, right, or wrong, and take a proverbial ass whooping when appropriate, because there's some days that I wasn't having it from the gangbangers, no different than I wasn't having it from the corporate America structure that is. So it helped me get used to dealing with aggressive men, you know, which you find in corporate America, as well as delicate men, you know, because a lot of people don't want to fight. They might want to talk, but they don't want to fight, you know, and they might want to lean on the system to lean on you. Meaning that, you know, some dude that don't want to fight is leaning on the gang system to lean on me. No different than somebody in corporate America don't really want to fight you. They want to lean on the corporate system to fight me. And so very, very similar, because we got men just being men, you know, people being people.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
PeQue's also told me about some anecdotes, which we probably don't have time to get into too many of them, but the way he was impressed by the way that you handled different situations, the different fires he's observed you putting out, and that way you answered that question illuminated that for me, gave me a glimpse of why you were able to. We kind of side tripped into a whole discussion of like how you even know a guy like you, Damon, to employ whichever method you might employ at a given moment. That's the maneuver to take. You know, certain people, like if you are just meeting aggression with aggression, it's often the second foul that's called, right? And so meeting it could just backfire in the sense of the repercussion, let alone the escalation of a conflict, and not, necessarily bring any sort of diffusement. So we're talking about all these things and just marveling at your demonstrated ability to recognize which tool for which problem or puzzle. You talk a little bit about how that decision making, problem solving process looks for you.
Yeah, I think it made me think when you talk about tools, right? It made me think of my dad. My dad said, "Hey, if the only tool you got is a hammer, then you better hope everything's a nail."
Mm-hmm.
So I do meet people where they are. I see people as individuals. Although I tended to have a lot of responsibility that big brands and big companies and people would bestow upon me, I knew that the only way I was going to be great is through the people that I work with. And so I have to meet them where they are, and they have different types of motivation and they have different types of inspiration. So you have to be, or I am a people person, right? So if I have to motivate you by challenging you, I will do that. If I have to motivate you by inviting you, that's different. I tell people all the time, I don't know you well enough to challenge you, but I'll invite you to do it like this, you know.
Mm.
But if I know you, oh, that's the hard thing because I'm a challenge you because I could take you further and farther by that push. And so it's a wide spectrum and everything in between. You have to be able to kind of look at somebody and understand what motivates them. And when you come into my space, why are you here? I hired a lot of people, but are you just here to make money? Or, hey, do you want to make money? Do you want a job? Or do you want to work? Those are three things I would look at, and would send people away if they just wanted, just the money. Hey, I'll give you the money. Give me my space back. I'll pay you to leave, you know. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I will pay you to leave because, young people come, they want to, you depending on that money. Cool. I'll pay you, but just go home. You ain't got to go, hey, get out of here. You ain't got to go home, but just get out of this space right here. So, and actually, I've only had one person when I do that take the money. Most people kind of think and they want to be part of a team. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves, and they want to be part of excellence. And that's one thing I've always, would attack people. If you're striving to be in excellence, cool, you can be coached hard. But if you don't, then you're going to find what I do and how I say it and the spirit in which we flow in offensive because you don't want to be 100%. You don't want to be in true excellence. And so those are the things, the tools and the things that I use when working with people. And even if you were my client, I'll be like, we could do the work, but how do I get you a raise, promotion, or bonus? Or how do I get you more time? Or how do I ignite your passion for what it is we're doing? That it ain't the work, it's the other stuff. So just handling people like that has always been a good thing for me.
That's tremendous.
Good. That's good. You talked about in the book, you talked about system isms,
and privilege.
Privilege and privilege bullcrap. You gotta say the whole thing.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that because you showed it you showed it in school, you showed it actually even in gang life. And maybe it goes all the way back to your home. When you think about some of the story, you kind of said, you know, hey, it's a system around here. I gotta get with the program.
Yeah, I mean, it's systems everywhere, and some systems work for us, some systems doesn't. The system in my home growing up was Robert Lee's Rules of Order.
Nice.
If you know about parliamentary procedure, it's a play on words. Robert's Rules of Order, you know, I make a motion that I second, are we ready for the question, all that. My father had a way of order. I got a lot of freedom. I was youngest of five, so I probably got the most freedom. Long as I wasn't messing up, he knew what was good and what was bad, right? And so, but my pops had a system. You had to do what you were told, and you had to do your best. Those were the two things. And you had to, if you said you was going to do it, you got to do it at the highest level. And so that's my dad. Whenever school wise, all that, hey, did you do your best? Okay, cool. He would use the Jedi mind trick. Oh, you crapped out here. That must be your best. And then that would make me say, well, no, it ain't. Well, get to it then. So that was the system there. And then we know, unfortunately, there are tons of systems that we work with in America as Black men. There just is. And so it's really not, and I'm not a fight the system type. I'm really, let me perfect within the system until I can get the hell out the system, and that's why I've been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years, because I just wasn't, I might not have made it in corporate America because I just thought if I did my best, I would be rewarded. Not if I did my best, somebody else who was less than would be elevated above me. That just doesn't make sense to me, but that's the way it is here. And it's specifically for us. It happens, the highest level of occurrence and discrepancy statistically happens to people that look like us and have the same body parts as us, right? So that's what it is about the system. So through the book, I just said, hey, it's a system out there. It's war out there, because that's kind of what I'm accustomed to growing up. My moms and pops would always, actually, my moms and pops wouldn't say nothing about the gang banging stuff because we knew that, but they would always say, watch out for the police. Because you typically, I'm sure that somebody, a white female in the suburbs didn't get that, but we knew about the gang stuff. That we knew about that. What the real game was the system of how the police played, at least in my neighborhood and in my community. Right. So that's kind of same thing with the system. If there's a scarcity of resources and you're in a predominantly white institute of any sort, is it designed for people like us to win? Well, it probably isn't. The design probably changes if you do win. And we've seen that over history. So, and we see it today. So absolutely. That's what the system is about. And the system is driven on these isms.
Absolutely.
There wouldn't be this emergence of this thing in the last couple of years called diversity, equity, inclusion in corporate America if it wasn't isms.
Wow.
They're even saying, dang, if we definitely dog you out if you're not a white male. But white males have their own little doggingness of it. But by and large, that's just that's this small. But that other stuff is everybody else. We've set up the system and we got these isms that kind of hold you back. And then that leads to privilege. Yeah. Because if these systems are against you and these isms hold you down, then somebody's getting that privilege, that benefit of the doubt. And so throughout the book, I just say, hey, it's a reality. I didn't create it. I'm just saying this is how you work with it. We got weathermen on the news for a reason. The weathermen say, hey, put a jacket on, hydrate, it's too hot, and so that's my thing in terms of when I look at talking about it, systems, isms, and privilege. I'm just a weatherman letting you know what the climate is out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. One thing that you said that really stuck out is that you recognize it. And the thing that I noticed throughout the book is that sometimes it seemed like you would be handed a really bad hand, as it were, in certain situations. But I really appreciated that you were able to walk away from those situations. I mean, and true with the title of the book, the subtitle where it's tight roping systems and breakthroughs and triumphs. A lot of times you were able to just go ahead and just, take it in, be okay with it, and then pivot. And that's the part that I think I really want people to be able to understand the importance of okay, you had a bad situation. This thing happened to you. Don't be dejected. Don't allow this to take you down. Don't let this take you out. Rejection happens. What do I do with it now that this situation has happened? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think there's some if you ask me something about my childhood, I may be able to pull it out of my subconscious mind because I experienced it. If some psychotherapist or hypnotic person to ask me what did I wear on my 9th birthday, if I remember my 9th birthday, I might can dig down and tell you, because everything goes into this brain and what we do and who we are. So part of it is you can't be too high or too low, and I specifically use tight roping purposefully based on the song by Janelle Monáe.
Okay.
And so go and take a look and listen at that song about tight roping, because the thing about tight roping isn't the rope, it's the fall. Because whether you tight roping at 6 inches high, 6 feet, or 600 feet, it's the fall. But the idea of tight roping, getting from one side to the other, is the same. We all think about the fall, and so if you are to fall and have a shortcoming, you still got to bounce back. Because if you're competing at the highest level, which I think many times I did when you talk about my academic graduations, where I graduated from, if you think about the jobs I did get, if you think about the places I've gone, I've competed at a high level where excellence and damn near perfection needed to occur, either going in, during, or coming out of. And when it's less than, or it doesn't, happen, 100%, you still have to lick your wounds and keep pushing, keep pushing. And that's the important thing. I never had an issue with self-esteem. Like Cat Williams say, it's the esteem of yourself. How can somebody else affect your self-esteem, right? And so I never, ever allowed for that to happen or to creep in. And my toolkit was enough where I had more than a hammer to shift, pivot. Now, if all you got is a hammer, once again, you hoping for the nail, you hoping that you get another chance. And so, when I felt that I was treated unjustly, or I didn't feel I had an opportunity with some of the spaces I've been in, I just said, I got to create my own other opportunity. I keep pushing, and so we can't just wallow, in someone else's systems with isms on you and privileged against you, and not try to figure out something else. So that's what I always had a certain strength in myself to say, well, let me try something different, or let me get out of this situation, because happiness is a part of mental well-being, and my mental well-being has always been on point. I've never been disgusted, happy, want to put a knife to my neck or anyone else's.
It's good. That's good.
When you talk about those things, the resolve stands out. You talk about like not having your self-esteem basically being impenetrable is a resolve thing. Even when you're talking about your toolbox, you mentioned that your dad gave you a perspective on having a diversity of tools, right? Mm-hmm. Specific to a situation, and not trying to apply the same mechanism. Like if you have a hammer, then you got to have the same situation to use it on, right? That basically means you're limited.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that that parental leadership and whatever other mentorship you may have received kind of helped with that resolve, being able, because that perspective to me seems, listening to you, that is a big key component. Is that fair to say that that is a big component of why you're able to have that self-esteem be such a stabilizing scenario for you? To be able to have that resolve. Can you speak to that, like what that process was like? Whatever that input was, or how do you even find the mentorship that you were able to find?
Yeah, I've been blessed. I've been lucky in all things earthly and extraterrestrial and godly. In terms of just having people in my life, particularly men, that have showed me the way and gave me unique and distinct ideas that flood me with confidence, with ability, with standing tall and speaking my mind and thinking I can do everything and anything that I fathom. It's no kinda, it's no less than 100% that, my dad was one of the first ones to do that, just around the house. I mean, his style fit who I was. I don't know which came first. I don't know if he engineered me like that or not, but it just worked. I'm one of five. He had five kids, and I would say that his style worked on two of us. you know, probably three of us. Probably worked on three of us, where we really took it and rolled with it. But yeah, I was the youngest, and I had my brother I was the accident. So my brother close to me was 6 years, and well, he was an enemy. He was a hero, but he gave me a big brother a hell of a time. And at no time did did my father tell him to stop. My father told me how to beat him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's different.
That's powerful. There's a moment in the book that you talk about, and if I could just jump in, where he was actually beating the crap out of you, and you're out screaming, and Pops comes out like, "Hey, keep the noise down."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just, and it's funny. I have I have three grandsons, right? 10, 7, 5. And that 5-year-old, I mean, I'm on him. Like, hey, take this part of your elbow and put it through there if your brother don't give you back what you was playing with. I don't ever say anything. It's funny, the women, my wife and daughter, their mom gets on the older ones. I never get on the older one. I always coach up the 5-year-old on how to get him. Get him when he's not looking. That's the stuff my dad used to say. Because pretty soon they're gonna get that my brother got I'm not an easy out. And then we work well together. Just like the 5-year-old, once he shows the 7-year-old that he ain't playing, 7-year-old will stop.
Yeah.
And the 5-year-old will be empowered. Now, I will say this: the 5-year-old told me when I told him to beat up his brother, he looked me square in the eye and says, "I'm not going to do that." No, he said, "I didn't want." He said, I don't want to do that." And I said, "Okay, cool." Now he might just keep on getting his butt whooped or his French fries stolen, but he's made a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
My choice was always to let me attempt to beat my brother, and so I never blame anybody, for doing me wrong, because I think that's just what people will do. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to do what I need to do to get through this. And I think that's kind of what was happening. And as my dad, my brothers. I mean, even though he was dog man, still my brother. So wasn't nobody else messing with me. So there was a lot of other stuff that goes on, in our little plot of land, and then there's other stuff down the street that my big brother, big brother is plural, helped me navigate, which was great. I still, even though it was South Central gangs and all that, I lived on a great block, you know. So I had a lot of bigger brothers, you know, people that kind of helped navigate and protect. We didn't do that kind of thing on my block. I didn't grow up. I can't now from my old house where I grew up, I stopped counting, but I could throw a rock from my front yard to different yards where it's over a century of jail time. But nobody was gangbangers, you know, per se. So I grew up in a time where we just didn't do that on our block. You know, well, we did everything else, but it wasn't no gang banging over blue and red colors or anything like that. And then I will say, you know, I went to a all black high school, Washington Prep, now Wash House back in the day, with George McKenna, who he got a TV movie played by Denzel. He was a great guy when I went, and I was at high school, and he was fearless. You know, he's in the most notorious gang infested high school, but that guy was fearless. And I just remembered how he did not fear his environment. He did not fear the gang activity. And that helped me say, well, if he can stand like that, I can too, you know. And then as I went Berkeley and Michigan and all jobs, I just gravitated or attracted black men who helped me significantly.
It's good. It's good. Very powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah, we've been talking PeQue, some other friends of mine, some family members. Over the last week, I've been in a number of conversations about, you know, different levels of resolve and that background stability that produces it. You know, I've had, you know, I didn't grow up with, you know, I grew up in a single parent home, and what you were saying about like the ladies in your family speaking to the older kids about stop doing that to him, versus your dad and yourself speaking to the younger kid, how do you deal with it? It's very vivid. Certain things that I've learned as an adult about how to deal with things. You know, I've been fortunate, I've been blessed to be around different types of mentorship that have helped me fill in the blanks, teach me to do the sort of a problem solving work within my own character to resolve the issues that come from, you know, my background. And that component is like a core key component because, like you said, you know, certain people are going to always do certain things. I had a boss, just as an example to sum up this introduction I'm doing, that when I used to work at Foot Locker, and he used to tell us, you don't want to treat everybody like a criminal, but you don't want to give an opportunist an opportunity. And so that approach allowed me to be able to help keep the store secure without profile, you know, and not falling into the trap of doing that or the temptation to do that. And so I find that relatable to what you just said. So, you know, you've done the things you've done in some of these spaces, and you've worked with really strong personalities, as PeQue said in the introduction. How has this sort of resolve played a part, or has it, you know, been able to be successful? You talked earlier about being able to relate to people on an individual basis in relationship to this stuff too. How can you give us just maybe some examples of some of the people that you worked with, some of the strong personalities that you've had to apply these skills to?
Yeah, I think I think that for one, yeah, I mean, people are people for one. Two, I don't fear any man. I just don't. And so I don't care how much money you got. You gonna bleed like me, your bone break like me, you know. And ain't nobody gonna punk me because I feel that I can always create my own lifestyle, you know. And so I think that early on, particularly, well, my first experience probably was in my 20s when I rode the corporate jet with the CEO of Chevron. Uh, I was just sitting doing whatever I was doing at Chevron, and I noticed that Chevron was doing converting an old library in my neighborhood into a training facility for, I don't know, tune-ups or whatever. And I just wrote a letter to the editor saying, "Hey man, this is cool that a company I work for is doing this thing. That's my neighborhood, thank you, kind of thing." And then the CFO, who at the time I was in finance, he calls me to his office, and I was one of the few blacks, so I was just thinking he was wanted to say what's up, how you doing, because that's what he would do. Hey, how's everything? You good? Ain't nobody calling you no names or whatever. And when I got there, he said, "Hey man, did you write this thing?" I said, yeah, that's my joint. He said, "Cool. Ken, who's the CEO, wants you to go down with him to present it." And I was like, "Oh, all right, cool." He was like, "Okay, so you're gonna be in the corporate jet with him." And he told me how to act in the corporate jet.
Yeah.
Ken's gonna first read the newspaper, boom, boom, boom. When he looks up, that's when but let him read his paper, all that kind of stuff, right?
Protocol.
He's brief, yeah, all of that kind. Who would be in the jet? All that. He gave me GAME. He gave me the game, right?
Yeah.
And and it's funny because he was like, "And don't be intimidated." I mean, I guess the average person would, right?
Sure.
The average person that ain't been at gunpoint might be intimidated. Right. I'm like, how would I be intimidated in the corporate jet? I'm like that kind of stuff, So that kind of played out, to look a man in his eye and say, "I don't care if you're the CEO, man. What you think about this? What you think about that? Stockholder value, all the stuff, just talking to him man to man, which I never had a problem with. My dad was 6'3", cussed a lot, but didn't cuss at us, like, what the fuck, what the F's your problem? That kind of stuff, but never would say you N-word or you MF or whatever, although MF was one of his favorite words, but he never called me one.
Right.
So I'm used to knowing men, like so yeah, I'm not a fear you. And similar at Chevron. Hey, the treasurer at Chevron was a bully. I'll talk about that in my book. Yeah. And I laughed at that because I'm like, you ain't punking me, fool. What I mean? It just ain't happening. So that kind of stuff kind of helped me in that situation. It might have hurt me because it was a culture that wanted the bully to be the bully. And that's what my boss told me after that meeting. Don't ever do that again. Everybody knows when he rolls up drunk, you just take whatever he's supposed to do. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that's how the game was played, but as long as he don't cross my line. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, in one situation, he didn't even cross my line. I saw him crossing somebody else's. And I just had to defend that chick over there because she was part of my MBA class. So don't nobody punk nobody in she in my gang. That's what. So that's the kind of stuff that goes down. But I will say when I was with Nike, and I was able to do the things I was doing, and at the time, there still was a little bit of divide because white folks didn't know how to handle aggressive black dudes. And I did, so I didn't have a problem with LeBron at 18 or a Kobe and all that kind of stuff. I didn't have a problem with that aggressiveness and them saying what they're not going to do and still having to convince them that this is what you need to do because we in business and you're a business partner and I need you to do this, boom, that kind of stuff. So it kind of helped when those guys were young, that helped. I remember a chance, with NBC, they had a problem with Ving Rhames. I was like, okay, I'll talk to him. He's a shit talking N-word dude, and I was just like, you done talking stuff? We doing this thing? It was nothing. I didn't take it personal. That's just what we do, kind of, And one of the success stories was Nickelodeon. If you go back and Little Romeo had a show, the most successful show on Nickelodeon, And once again, they were having problems with his father, you know. And so, you know, Master P was about money. He understood. So that kind of stuff helped that I think I did. You know, one, I was cool with standing up. I was okay. I was an operative, you know, that would go in and make these things go. In addition to, you know, the stuff, you know, PeQue, you've seen it, you know, when we would do national tours, going into Philly, Chicago, all that, and dealing with an urban environment. I did not fear that. I didn't have a problem telling a chief of police, "Oh no, we doing this.
Yep.
We ain't not doing it.
Yep.
You make a move, but you're not going to intimidate me into making a stupid move."
Yep.
You know, so that in Brooklyn, in Philly, in Chicago, where they were trying to control urban energy, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I think that definitely helped me. And the funny thing is, just this week, I had somebody at Nike that works for Nike saying that people are afraid to talk to the athletes. And I'm like, wow, the athletes are a little bit kinder than they was back in the day. And they still afraid because there's no black men there. Matter of fact, the guy, head of Nike North America basketball at one time told me, "Damon, I need a man in Chicago," when they were killing people. And that's what he said. We need you and all that, but most of all, we just need a man. And I was like, well, it's Chicago, so give me some combat pay, you know, and I'll do it.
Wow. I remember specifically a situation. I'm not going to say any names. If it's for you, if you remember the situation, I remember we were doing a Nike event. I think it was might have been Vegas or New Orleans. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which place, but a certain person showed up. Certain personality showed up in not Nike gear, and I remember watching how you handled that person. I don't know if you remember that situation, but it was impressive to everybody who saw it. And,
okay. Well, who was it? Give it to me. Because a lot of people do that.
Just tell him what he did. Just tell him what he did. That'll probably jog him. You said a lot of people do that. So
yeah, a lot of people, you know, they show up to the Nike thing and, oh, I don't know. They just show up and they don't know that they're supposed to be in Nike gear, or they may have been sent Nike gear, or I might have Nike gear for them.
Right. You told the young man that he had been sent get Nike gear. It was Bow Wow. You told him he had been sent Nike gear.
Yeah. But see, that's a game in itself. You show up without it, and then you get more.
Okay.
Because you know I gotta get you, even if I gotta run somebody to get you stuff.
Right.
It's just a game, you know. It's just a game. I do remember, you know, Mr. Bow Wow, you know, you know, and that was probably a game, or he might have forgot, you know, management or whatever. Because we send you the product. If you're there for multiple days, we give you the sheet that says where this on day 1, day 2, day 3, you know. So yeah, you once again, I wouldn't get upset because I just figure out, did you really not get it? Is it in the card? Do you just want more? You know, which one is it? You know, that kind of thing. Or you just ridiculous today, you know? So,
yeah, your response was legendary. Everybody like that, like none of us stopped talking about that from that point on, because you just went out there and like handled it and meekly did what he was supposed to do and showed up, you know, at the time he was supposed to. So
yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff, brother. That's good stuff.
Reminded me of poker a little bit, at least when people talk about it. I'm not a big poker player, but I played, and I've played other games like that where it has to do more with the strategy and the way that you read and respond to the other competitors or opponents than it has to do with this particular hand you get dealt hand to hand. And how do you play that over a length of time versus the individual hand, things like that. What you were just saying reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah, I think one is you know, if I put myself in the space, put yourself in the space of, I always say, I'm typically would be responsible for everything, not anything. right? So the person who's responsible for Bow Wow probably came and told me, hey, he ain't got his gear on, which meant that it would be a problem for them. So by the time it gets to me, that's dealing with everything, right? I have to make it happen quick. I have to make it happen succinctly, because once he's okay, he's not my responsibility. Somebody else is putting him where he needs to be. I'm still responsible for everything. So, I have to shift, which is hard in production sometimes. I have to shift into a space to deal with Bow Wow and his people in a way that he will find me respectful, considerate, and with purposeful intent, and so not the clowning, so to speak, or not to hush him or to demean him. So that oftentimes is the biggest thing. I'm going from dealing with this to some dude that just didn't follow instruction. And so I would have to kind of gather myself, as they say, shift, pivot, all of that. And I think that that's kind of emotional intelligence, to go and not alarm them. Because once again, I think that I go back to my days on the street. If somebody senses fear, if somebody senses anything, even as 12 to 16-year-old boys in a gang, they gonna pounce on you. So you have to look everybody in the eye with a certain purpose and intent to say, you're wrong, but this is how we fix it. Fix it. And so whichever way that works, where I'm dealing with a young Bow Wow, I'm dealing with a Terry Crews who I had to deal with one time, or an athlete, and athletes are the toughest ones. I've seen LeBron and Kobe give people the business, the blues, just effing with them. But I think that, and they F with me a little bit, but not a lot, and I'll have to allow them to do that because that's what they are accustomed to. But I have my limits. And I think that we never got to those limits with any of those guys. I never got with any limits to any one person, maybe Kevin Durant. There was one scenario in Shanghai with Kevin Durant that didn't really go well at all. And it was just bad for the team. It was the team of people working. And I try to avoid that with the young brothers too. It just went bad. It went bad. Actually, it's a guy who's the head of a company now for basketball. We were talking about that 2 weeks ago. But yeah, and part of it is me trying to make it good for the team and try to make it good for them, a la like Kyrie and what's going on right now. That requires some finesse coaching. I understand where he's coming from. I understand the whole scenario, but unless it's purposeful in what he's doing, because he did usher an apology, which they wanted before he got suspended, but those kinds of things take a little finesse, and he has a great dad and great all that kind of stuff. But my goal would try to be create win-win-win scenarios for my team that was working, for my client, and for that individual and their brand and their management team.
It's good.
And it is poker, it is strategy, and then helping them understand the bigger good, because these are just guys that score. They ain't really businessmen. They score. They just got a job to score. Yep.
That's good.
Or keep people from scoring.
That's good. That's good. Want to pivot in this conversation to purpose, as you were talking a little bit about that. I can imagine what your answer is, but if you had to give an overall statement of what is your purpose here in this space we call life here, what would you say?
My purpose is to help people win. I would say, however way that W is defined by you, but my purpose is to help people win. I mean, that's kind of where I am now. So if you take me in business, my business was always to help clients win, but also people that I know people that work with me, for me, alongside me, and all that kind of stuff, for us to win, whatever that meant. I mean, your and my relationship started with me understanding your love of drawing, of creating, and then we incorporated that into what we were doing, and you in turn inspired other people that had a creative, sense about themselves. And so that's one thing I'm proud of, that as an entrepreneur, and even as a corporate employee, I was able to help people win, and so that's kind of my piece. Even now with my I don't call it I have a franchise, Jahmal. It's a beauty retail concept franchise. And I was talking to someone just yesterday about a corporation coming in and funding people to buy my franchise, so they too can own. I didn't say give me the money so I can open 10 more for myself. I said, why don't we create it where, yes, you pay me my franchise fee, but for other people to win in key markets. Don't set me up in 10 markets. Set other people up in 10 markets. And the one was like, wow, that's cool. I said, I'll get mine. Don't worry about me. Let's figure out how to help some other folks. Yes. So help them win. So I think that's my purpose these days. How do I help other folks win? And it's the confidence I have that I'll win. I'll win. And as many people as we spout out, Jahmal, you had asked about just those people and dealing with those people. I can run off a list of people, but none of those people I had an invitation, maybe with the exception of one person, Baron Davis, for a stint of time, invited to be part of their management teams, part of their business teams, part of their growth and things like that. So part of my manliness is kind of tough when you talk to those types of people that are used to yes people. People saying yes and not having a lot of alpha personalities or lions. I always say you find a lion in the zoo, in the circus, and in the safari. Safari lion.
That's
yeah. If you the lion in the zoo and you see the dude put a plate of meat down, you probably just eat the plate of meat. Me, I'm eating the dude. I'm eating it because I ain't used to that easy stuff on the plate. I ain't used to that. I'm like, what the hell is that?
I love that. Listen, two questions for you. I am finished with the drawing. One is you talked a little bit about Glow and Flow, your beauty business.
You gotta say it with a little more.
Glow and Flow.
There you go, Glow and Flow. Yeah. But Jahmal, the glow is for the skin, the flow is for the hair.
Copy that. That all makes sense.
Talk to us about Glow and Flow. Tell us what you're doing with that. You kind of touched on that. Give us some details on what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm we talked a lot about the sports world and all that, and it was great while I was in that white hot spot, that white hot spot of it. And then when I felt it was time for me to think about something else, going into the book, it was a scenario with Under Armour and Steph Curry that didn't work out my way, or the way I would like it to work out. And that's when I said, what am I really doing? And am I still going to chase moving all around the country, or moving around the United States or North America, chasing consulting gigs, or am I going to try to figure out something? And that's when I said, you know what? People pay me to get customers. Why don't I just get customers on my own? And so it was either a bakery or beauty supply. The bakery, because everybody from 8 to 80 will eat a cupcake or a slice of cake or something. We're a sugary nation. And I almost bought a Nothing Bundt Cake, which is a franchise. And then I ended up stumbling upon beauty. And as you know, PeQue, my wife, is not only a beautiful lady, but she probably is single-handedly responsible for a lot of beauty companies being profitable every year, you know. And
Absolutely.
so I said, let me take a look at it. And I actually drove 90 minutes to look at the financials on an existing beauty supply, and I didn't know where it was. And when I said, hey, this is pretty good numbers, I think I can do something. I always think I can double the business, right? Um, I looked at it and I said, wow, this is 2 doors down from where I buy my fish, you know? And so that was, conversation was on a Wednesday. I went to and met with the owner on Friday, and we worked out everything. And that's when I said, okay, beauty it is. And we're able to grow the business so much. And then I start looking at just the business construct of the manufacturing, the distribution, and all of that, and just the idea that there's a group of people that service Black and brown folks that ain't Black and brown and don't keep the dollars, don't reinvest those dollars, but they build up their communities over here in a great, phenomenal way. And I just said, this is where we need to be. And like I said, I don't use the S word, you know. I have a beauty retail concept, not a beauty S word.
Okay.
Because that's not where we are. We have a concept. It's about beauty, inner beauty and outer beauty, and the beauty of our people. And so, in all the love that we've gotten over the last 3 years, right, actually is the first year was just drinking water out of a fire hydrant in terms of learning the business, because I had never been in the business. But I'm good at numbers. I'm good at business. I understand a house of brands concept from my time at Nike. Say Foot Locker is a house of brands. So I kind of got that kind of thing. And so in year 2, I said, I'm gonna franchise this thing, and I'm gonna expand and grow this thing. So that's what we're doing. You know, we revamped the whole thing. We created experiential programs, affinity groups, loyalty groups, all that kind of stuff that other entities aren't doing. And then we're growing. We have 2 more locations that we're looking at, that will be corporate owned. And then, of course, we're looking at the franchise stuff. We got interest out of Detroit, Michigan, and the whole state of North Carolina. Yeah, so we're going to keep pushing it and just changing the way women shop.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm encourage all of you to go out there and to check it out. Glow and Flow. It's in Inglewood.
Oh, baby.
It's in Inglewood. You gotta check it out. You know, if you have a phone with GPS on it, it will tell you how to get there. They are listed, and even if you look at the comments, you'll see that everybody who's been there is amongst the high. It's not amongst the highest. It is the highest rated of its type of entity.
We got a great honor. We got a great honor just yesterday. I talked to a rep that reps Shea Moisture, Mael, and another Black brand, Alafia, and she said that we were graded A, you know, and we were one of few independents that were graded A. Like you usually get Ulta or Sally's to get that high grade, or one even predominantly an entity that services predominantly whiter skinned people and finer haired people. But she said we got an A, and that unlocked a lot of conversation, a lot of possibility for us. So I felt very, very, very good about that we were rated an A by industry standards. So
congrats.
Good.
Congrats, and rightly so. Yeah, rightly so. Rightly so. Tell us about the future. What are we looking forward to? I know you said that you're expanding as the franchise and that.
Yeah,
what are we looking forward to?
I see the beauty space as three directions. One is corporately owned, which we're looking at here in LA, Hawthorne, and then we're looking at Vegas, and maybe one other LA location if I can find a sweet spot, to have four corporate owned, meaning me 100% kind of thing, or our group 100%. Then there's joint venture. So I mentioned North Carolina. Later this month, I'm talking to a investment group in North Carolina. They want to buy the whole state. And so it probably won't be a franchise. It'll be something I'll have to have my hands in, equity stake in, but it'll be a more joint scenario. And then we have a possibility that where we're talking to Westfield malls. I'm doing that through LA Urban League. Westfield has come to them. I'm part of their entrepreneurship center. So some conversations there. Same thing with Brookfield Properties. They have a program called Partner to Empower, where we've been working with them to see if there's certain malls, particularly in Houston and Atlanta, where they will be our partners, give us, tenant improvements and certain things because they have set aside money. God bless George Floyd, RIP. That program was built out of his scenario. So, and those are all joint venture. And then there's the franchise where, hey, you want to do a franchise in Cleveland, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, pay the licensing fee and we'll be a consultant and we'll help you and you'll be part of the Glow and Flow family. So that's the piece on the beauty retail concept that we have. We're developing products. So we'll probably have braid hair before or after Chinese New Year, depending on when it's manufactured. And it'll be here. We're thinking definitely by March. So that's a big thing for us. And then I'm doing a men's care line that I'm hoping that will go for teen boys as soon as that boy starts thinking, I want moms to buy the collection from us, body wash, lotion, yes. Body spray, light scent body spray, not heavy like Axe, but light scent stuff just for boys. And that's pretty interesting because I want to put with that product, I want to have a pack, like a TSA approved pack that will go in a locker, that'll go in a gym bag or go in a piece of luggage. And I want to be able to create a system where kids can sell it to raise money for sports programming, because I do not want another Black kid selling me chocolate when I get out of the parking lot of the grocery store, to raise money for something. Yeah. And so they need a tool like Girl Scouts and cookies. Our boys, overall, all boys need a better tool to raise money for sports programming, because similar to what you shared, Jahmal, I was blessed and privileged to have a dad in the home and a coach, and a coaches, and so I think sports is big because it allows boys to come together, learn how to work together versus the gang thing, and learn how to be productive, learn how to learn how to be coached hard, and then accept that kind of coaching from somebody that probably looks like them if it's a neighborhood park. Yeah. So that whole Titan thing is a product that I'm really trying to do some interesting stuff around. Once again, helping young boys win, man. Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. So that's the future. That's good. And I haven't given up sports. I have a consultancy with some ex-Nike guys. We take on select consultancy projects. We're working with William Morris on some of their clients, helping them figure out problems. We may or may not be working with USC around their NIL proposition because it's ever changing. And then we just got approached by an old sportswear urban apparel company about a relaunch. So we help people, do the thinking to solve some of their problems. That's the fun stuff. That's just me talking to old friends about stuff we used to do, easy, routinely. We just old guys that help young guys get there quicker. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, real cool. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure. I have a caricature that I need to show you.
Yeah.
The second of its kind.
The second of its kind.
We're gonna get this thing here.
Where you at, Jahmal?
I'm in Gardena now.
LA?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes,
come
sir.
through.
We definitely will.
That's great right there, man.
Yeah, here we go.
That's what's up. Hold on, let me. Can I take a shot of it?
I'm going to send it to you, but you can absolutely take a shot of it.
Yeah, that's what's up. I like that. I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Listen, we're gonna talk some more. Damon, it's a pleasure to have you, brother. I really
100%.
appreciate that. Listen, there are more people that's gonna come. I'm not sure they're gonna all be as dynamic as Damon has been with us today.
Oh, they'll be better.
But we're just excited about this particular conversation. I'm not editing this down for nothing. So when you see the hour conversation, you know why I didn't want to edit it, because this is too good. We're gonna keep it all. Y'all take
Cool.
That caricature looked great. You look like the neighborhood Jedi right now. That's the way you talk as well. So I feel like you captured something. You captured the moment.
Yeah. What's your intersection? Oh, we can't say it. We still filming. PeQue, give us a text intro, man. Yeah, come through. Hit me.